Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. Today is November 15th, 2024, and today is Friday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, Tesla retreating to previous resistance, subsequent support. Let's take a look at it in just a second. But first, looking at today's major economic events. So we have out of Great Britain, 9 a.m. South African time. We have a GDP, gross domestic product number coming out. And then at 3:30 South African time from the United States, we have retail sales numbers coming out. Now looking at the market, starting out with the Forex symbols, the major pairs take a pause after a couple of very big weeks for the US dollar. Now looking at the indices, the Dow Jones and the Nasdaq both retreating. Looking at commodities also, gold, oil, and natural gas all selling off different variations. And looking at the stocks, Shopify beats the market and has a huge gap up, while the other stocks pretty much retreating across the board. And lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin pausing and unchanged. Let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go. First with the Euro USD. Now we're getting a little bit of a bounce here at a subsequent supportish level. 105.06. If you can see it, it's a hair. We're looking at a weekly chart. So it's a little bit of a bounce. Not major, but it is a little bit of a bounce. And we're at 105.51, which is about 50 pip bounce. Okay. So it is bouncing. Okay. The Euro is bouncing. The GBP is bouncing. Okay. They're all really just taking a pause here. So it might be, and we got to have to look, I'm going to have to look to see how big of a bounce this is going to be, or is it going to just be a pause and then we're going to continue going further down. GBP also not pushing too far. Now the Canadian dollar hit new lows, okay? This is really super important, because this means it can continue going, and we have to go to a monthly chart, okay, to really see where possibly we can go to, and we haven't been at these levels since 2005, okay, for the Canadian dollar. So this is really super important. Keep an eye on it. It's going to still be in play for quite some time. Japanese yen continued on its downward spiral, but it did topple at the top of its side there. So with that said, just keep an eye on it. Okay, this may be a point of exhaustion as it corrects itself. Now jumping into commodities, everything continues to sell off. I mean, gold just mildly lower, 25.60. I'm going to have to make, it's a 200 and something point retracement, as it's made the correction here on the downside. Again, you're looking for a little bit of a bounce. Let's see if we get it. Crude oil back to its supportish level at $67. Again, it has to break that 66.90 for it to be a breakout on the downside. And natural gas taking a nosedive from $3 to $2.69. Huge move for natural gas. Now looking at the U.S. markets, they did retrace as well. NASDAQ a little bit more than the Dow. You can see that very nicely, did retrace. And looking at the Dow also retracing here. If we look at a 4-hour chart, boom, it's there. People are taking money off the table. I mean, Thanksgiving is coming up at the end of the month. People want to book some of their profits, and sure enough, that's what the market does. So looking at the stocks though, Tesla did a huge U-turn here. Okay. Now remember, I looked at this before on a weekly chart, and it broke its resistance level at 308. And guess where we're at? 310. So this is supportish level. Previous resistance is subsequent support. So I would imagine we're going to bounce off here at a certain point. Okay. And you can't say that it's going to be 308 specifically, but it's around this area that I'd like to see if it holds it. Otherwise, we could just test our lows again as 264 and kind of move back to that level as well. Looking at the rest of the other stocks, really, they did retrace. Amazon, who hit all-time record highs, did retrace. Microsoft retraced a little bit. There's nothing sticking out. Shopify did have a huge breakout, all right? This is a very specific stock. We might have an opportunity afterwards as it makes some sort of correctional move afterwards, all right? So that does happen often with these type of stocks. So keep that in mind. This might be a decent play. Look, this is Shopify. It's big gap up, okay? 91 to 109. That's an $18 gap up. And so it might have a little bit of a correctional move as well. So keep that in mind. Now looking at Tesla, not doing much, okay? And looking at Bitcoin, not doing much, pretty much unchanged for the last couple of days, consolidating also in its upper range. So I'm going to assume it's going to continue doing that until it breaks out. And as we've spoken about before, it doesn't become in play until it makes some sort of breakout. Okay, that's just the nature of Bitcoin. Thanks for joining. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish you guys a great weekend. Thank you.